Harverd Dropout. Anything less than a 10's a cop-out. Harverd Dropout. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it is time for a review of the new Lil Pump album, Harverd Dropout. This is the newest album from Florida rapper Gazzy Garcia, aka Lil Pump, who has been keeping us waiting for a pretty long year to hear this record that he has been teasing for quite a while, to the point where the meme this album's title is based off of has kind of grown stale at this point. But still, I am pretty excited to hear new material from Pump, mostly because I was looking forward to hearing the next phase of evolution from him after his 2017 self-titled project, which I still get flack for enjoying to this day, mostly because it's dumb pill-popping trap rap with loud beats and super basic flows. Is it flawed? Yes. And is it incredibly stupid? Yes. But this record has a raw, messy, wild, out-of-control attitude that I just can't get enough of. The over-the-top energy this project brought to the table went mostly unmatched in 2017. So again, I enjoyed that 2017 record, and given that Lil Pump doesn't exactly strike me as the type to overthink anything, I assumed going into his next record he'd pretty much maintain everything that made him appealing to begin with. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But unfortunately, that's just not really the case, and Harverd Dropout kinda stinks. Mostly for the exact reasons I feared after hearing one of the teaser tracks to this record, Racks on Racks. It was too slick, too well produced, too clean. It seemed like Pump was putting a little bit too much effort into it. In the grander scheme of things, Dropout isn't as much of a fumble as other new rappers have had transitioning into the mainstream and into a bigger budget and a major label deal, like Lil Yachty with his awful Teenage Emotions record. But to a degree, Harverd Dropout still feels like an example of that, with the much cleaner presentation stripping away the rough and authentic appeal of an amateur who somehow hit it big. The beats on this thing are more pristine and slightly toned down in terms of bass and distortion and aggression. I wouldn't exactly call this record mellow, but the bangers on this thing are kind of mild. And all the tracks on this thing that feature super stripped back skeletal beats, those aren't really doing much for Pump's style either. I hate to emphasize the quality of the production so much in this review, but the thing is, half the time the beat is carrying Lil Pump. And if the beats aren't great, if they don't have an explosive energy to them, there's almost no reason to listen. There are maybe a handful of tracks on this thing where Pump is being his usual outlandish self, like Nuh-Uh and Vroom 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 and Off-White, Off-White. But these songs are few and far between on the album and not enough to keep the entire record afloat. Also, what's with the numerous tracks on this thing where Pump is kind of rapping well and even a bit faster than usual, except he's not really that great at it, and sounding slick and rapping fast is not really a part of Lil Pump's appeal. I would much rather hear him on a record sounding young and exuberant and funny and weird, saying something totally absurd or something with a lot of attitude, maybe even nihilistic, but sounding skillful and sounding sly, at least for me, those are words that just don't really compute when it comes to Lil Pump. There are numerous tracks on this thing where Pump, in my opinion, is just trying way too hard to sound put together. On Dropout, on Ione, Racks on Racks, also Drug Addicts, which despite its title sounds like one of the most sober songs on the entire record. There are a couple of moments here where I think the increased budget and cleanliness actually improves Lil Pump's formula, like on the track Multimillionaire featuring Lil Uzi, and also, of course, the song that is titled after his flagship catchphrase, ESSKEETIT! Those tracks are very catchy and have an incredibly high impact. But honestly, a majority of this album is either just straight obnoxious or painfully forgettable, totally failing to recreate that same part brain-dead, part aggressive thrill of many tracks off the debut. Honestly, there's not a single song on this record that goes as hard as D Rose or even Boss. Walk in the trap like a boss, ugh! And that's just facts. I think the closest this album comes to creating that same energy is the very blown out Too Much Ice, but even that pales in comparison, and the Quavo feature on that thing is incredibly average. The song Be Like Me has one of the worst Lil Wayne features he's done in a while. Also, Pump's lyrics on this track I just cannot stand. They're just really conceited and pretentious. It's like the most annoying flex of all time, because anybody who has a few brain cells to rub together really doesn't want to be Lil Pump. I mean, I like a lot of your music, and I like that you're doing your thing, and I like your existence, but I have no interest in switching places. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. The song's stripper name is a total mess, totally annoying hook, also features one of the worst instrumentals on the entire thing, based mostly around this very stale vocal sample. Again, it's another example of a very minimal instrumental not doing much for Pump and his style. The song Who Dat is basically a pointless ending to this entire record. I wish that Pump just sort of left this thing off on a high note with ESSKEETIT. The song Butterfly Doors, the flows on that track just feel like a Migos ripoff. And I love it with Kanye. I'm actually very happy that this song landed on this album instead of a Kanye album. Last year, I thought the music video and a lot of the memes branching off of the song were pretty cool, but just by itself, listening to it on an album, yeah, it's kind of annoying, not really that good, and I would be utterly embarrassed to be blasting this song in any public place. All in all, this is just a supremely underwhelming album from Pump. Where are the bangers? Where's the excitement? It's not here. And it's not even that Pump can't rap well or that his lyrics are dumb and blah, 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 blah. He's a mumble rapper. His bars aren't meaningful. They're not substantive. He's not an experimental, lyrical miracle, spherical miracle. If those are your problems with Pump, you've never liked Pump, and why do you even have any interest in this album? The problem now is that he's just gotten boring, he's effectively painted himself into a corner, and has kind of run out of ideas and has no choice left but to just make his music sound slicker and more expensive. And surely that's going to appeal to some people, but to anyone who enjoyed the debut tape for its raw energy and almost punkish attitude on Harvard Dropout, yeah, that's completely gone. I'm feeling a light to decent 4 on this thing. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Lil Pump, Harvard Dropout, forever.